Today we had a filmmaker from Hollywood and from Nigeria, and of course we here represent the Indian cinema, to get all three industry representatives on one platform talking about issues which concern the human race is indeed one hell of an achievement. I am certain that in times to come, you will see on this platform filmmakers from all over the world, because as we get deeper into the 21st century, you will realize that the human race will have to deal with the human problems collectively. Individually, we can't do a damn thing. It's only in a collective effort that we will find enduring solutions.
No, we can't believe that we're working with Vinta of Tara. I mean, how cool is that? And as Vinta mentioned, we're part of the Global Centers, and we're here today to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Global Centers, which includes the Third Eye, the center here at the Asian Center for Entertainment Education in Mumbai, and then it includes GIST of Nollywood Workshops in Lagos, Nigeria, and then finally my center, Hollywood Health and Society in Los Angeles. And so Hollywood Health and Society has been around for about 13 years now, and we are a free expert resource to writers, directors, and television producers and filmmakers. We work with Grey's Anatomy and Homeland, 90210, Mad Men, and it's really a win-win because these programs become very compelling and gritty and realistic. They make lots of money, and then their audiences learn more about their health and the issues facing them and their communities. So we thought in Hollywood, why are we keeping this a secret? Why not share this with the rest of the world, especially with the other great global film industries of Bollywood and Nollywood. And so we formed the Global Centers about a year ago to do exactly that, to share this vision and to learn from our other compatriots at the Asian Center for Entertainment Education and Third Eye and Nollywood Workshops and GIST.
So we learned about the power of Nollywood through Bond. And when Bond's film went along to be a total blockbuster, definitely making more of a profit than our documentary, and certainly reaching much bigger of an audience, we realized that Nollywood had this incredible, incredible power. Not only to reach and inspire audiences, but to really be a creative industry that could inspire the world. So we formed Nollywood Workshops. As we started doing technical training, we realized that the average Nigerian filmmaker had a responsibility that they held very dear. It wasn't only to make a good film and to make a commercially viable film. It was to use their film to say something, to put a message in it. And they were interested not only in improving their technical skills, but also reaching an audience in a broader way and in a more meaningful way. So around this time, where we decided we would expand our program from training to also film production, we were so lucky to meet Chris and his team at USC, the Norman Lear Center, and realize that the Hollywood Health and Society model could be extended to an industry like Nigeria. So we launched the GIST program, which will support filmmakers by providing relationships with experts to advise storylines, and also produce films that have storylines to influence health, attitudes about health and other development issues. We're well on our way, just like the Third Eye, and so a year from now, when we gather for the Global Summit again, hopefully we'll have some great new films to show for you. Mr. Kalani has been a longtime advisor and friend to Nollywood Workshops. Mr. Kalani really has modeled for the Nigerian film industry the power of this medium. And he's demonstrated through his films that are not only entertaining and commercially successful, that also you can make an impact with your story. You can inspire audiences, you can spark conversations, and if you're going to tell a story, why not make it count? And I think TK is a wonderful example of that. So I'd like to introduce you and hope we all enjoy this preview today.
We were inspired by Hollywood and Bollywood. And the inspiration I can relate directly to the Indian cinema, which is a cultural diversity cinema. And I look at the indigenous aspect of it, how India has been able to develop something which started locally and suddenly it's global. And today we can compare easily over time the progress that's been made in India when you look at the previous movies and you see the contemporary films. The first thing I made, I said it was going to be a local internal film. And I know my peers will be shocked that I use a camcorder to make a film.
Partnerships. A collaboration with us will go a long way in helping achieve fruition. In conclusion, we will make
It is indeed nothing short of a miracle to see what's right in front of your eyes. Is the world is changed. You have right here Hollywood, Nigerian cinema icons, and we from India, Bollywood. And I think over the years, this tribe is going to increase. And so we are the world and the world is us. But what keeps us together is what we saw when the character, when she kind of went into spasms of pain, and then you immediately started empathizing with her and you were interested in her narrative. So the human suffering, the language of suffering, human pain is what holds us all together. And I think that is what has brought all of us together. And as we as human beings are committed to address the problem of human suffering in our own unique ways with the insights that we have. And I'm very happy that the Third Eye is doing such an exceptional job with our friends in the United States. We are now for the first time going to have, a huge data which was perhaps not accessible in the bygone days. When I tried to tell a renowned actor who was from theatre to use the word schizophrenia, and I said, use the word psychosis. And he was struggling. He says, why? Why should I use the word psychosis? Who will understand it? I said, because it's important that we don't label it as madness.
Right.
And because there's a word called madness, and under that, when you pigeonhole a person as a mad, then you kind of simplify things and trivialize the character. So there was tremendous resistance, but if I had access to more information, at that time in India we were just beginning to wake up to this truth that, and I was personally combating the psychiatrists who were perhaps a little less informed than I was, because I could see that the root of what was called madness or a mental breakdown was the body. It was a psychobiological disorder. It was a biochemical disorder. And it was genetically, it was in the genes. It was something like diabetes. And it was not caused by the environment or by the stress and strain. And it has taken me years, and it was heartbreaking that subsequently, even in my personal life, that the so-called well-informed media trivialized the entire discourse and kind of chose to look for external attributes for the crack up of the very famous star, when actually the disorder was there in her genes. And it's only subsequently with the advent of understanding that even now, as I speak to you right now, in the latest film fair, I have tried to demystify what really led to the crack up of that famous star with whom I was involved. She was a victim of schizophrenia, and as schizophrenia is a biological disorder, a biochemical disorder. It has its roots in its genes. The person is predisposed towards this kind of ailment, and there are cures which are you can drain it through drug therapy, not through counseling. So I wish I had access to more information. I would be able to give a deeper insight, and through that film, which has endured for 30 years and it's still on the shelf, perhaps helped a large number of people who suffer from this ailment. And I think what is indeed, you saw the way everybody was watching. We never heard of something like this existing on this planet. And what keeps everybody glued is that, there is something like this which exists in this part of the world. I hope that we keep on doing this through Third Eye repeatedly and keep on broadening our understanding of what the human race is dealing with.
Well, it's really nice to be here with all of you, and congratulations, Tunde. It really is I want to see the rest of it. I had some great teachers, and I have gotten to make some films that are about issues that really matter, and so there's the opportunity to entertain. And then, I was also taught that part of the job of a filmmaker is, to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable.
Very nice.
Very well put.
And that's what this film does too. We want to expose things that don't get talked about. We want, and that's not always, just a battle. We see that people really often want to come to films that tell them about stuff they don't know or challenge them. And, we certainly, 12 Years a Slave just won the Academy Award this year, right? Not an easy movie. So I think that there's some of that. And there's stuff that's happening. I've the last couple of projects I've worked on have been about climate change, right? This is something that certainly cuts across all our geographical boundaries and borders, that no one, no matter where they are on the socioeconomic scale, where they are on the planet, is exempt from that, right? No one is exempt. And so I think that, we have a kind of an obligation, and then we find the places where we can entertain and bring people into these stories, tell human stories, right? Climate change, for example, is a very human story. Sickle cell is a human story,
Yeah.
right? I wasn't watching a movie about a sick person. I was watching a movie about somebody who was in a struggle and a conflict, and I cared about that person. And
Yeah.
so bringing that to bear on how we tell these stories, it's a real opportunity to get, screen time and have people watch. We might as well say something, right?
Yep. One late evening, back from Delhi, he came and introduced himself, and then he mentioned about this fascinating film about the Bhopal tragedy, which is in fact the mother of all tragedies that independent India has seen, and which has not had a sense of closure yet. And I felt that I had just received a message from you about this press conference. And I said, look, Third Eye is the right platform for you, because it once again talks about suffering. The human suffering is what actually is the glue that holds us all together. And you can't possibly get a better platform than that to really kickstart your PR activity. And in fact, we want to use a little of your thunder to help the Third Eye. So thank you for helping us and giving us a little of your thunder, and over to him.
I think it's a story which nobody, there are documentaries made on it, but this is the first feature film that's made on that scale, which has got, thanks for Martin Sheen and the whole cast. Martin Sheen loved the script, and after Gandhi's, he wanted to come to India, and so he said that, he immediately once he heard the script, and he said, I'm coming. It's a difficult subject for anybody. Again, it's not really very big commercial film. I think it's a story that needs to be told, and I think there's a lot of things that are happening globally with the environment and what's happening with, if you see the climate change and everything. I think this is a film that needs to be told, because this kind of tragedy can happen anywhere, in India or anywhere else, because the negligence that happens, once you see the film, there's a lot of negligence that has taken place, not only because of what happened with Union Carbide. It was 30 years back, this is the 30th year. So you can imagine the kind of, if that kind of thing happens in today's day and age, the kind of death that can happen, or it will be crazy. So I think it's a story that needs to be told, and people need to know what really happened. So I think it's one medium which is, again, by using actors or using this kind of platform in terms of the film, I think a lot of people will learn. we've already had a lot of good response to a lot of festivals that have shown. And I think it will be good even for India. I think it's just
Make an impact.
yeah, it's going to make a huge impact, I guess. In fact, the like you said about suffering, people are still suffering there because the machines are still there, and whenever it rains, it actually seeps into the back of the tank,
groundwater,
and
yeah.
people are having the same water. So people, in fact, what people died then is not that much that is happening so far. So we also intend while doing this film or releasing this film, the idea is also the awareness. Because of the awareness that would come, something would eventually happen for the people, which has not happened. The kind of if we've compared this with what has happened with the oil leak in BP, what's happened now, and there are a lot of other things. They have paid billions of dollars, whereas this is only paid $300 or $400 a corpse, which is nothing. I mean, so the size of the tragedy and the suffering that's happening now also, people's eyes, limbs, everything is, so like you said, suffering, it's still, so the idea of, I mean, yes, we made a film, but the idea, the awareness could actually bring a closure which has never happened for this so far, and the factory still lies there.
It's been wonderful, and I'm extremely grateful to the Third Eye, to Vintananda, Chris, Mahesh Bhatt, because it's very rare that in today's cinema world that one is allowed to specifically make films to highlight social issues. And the wonderful part is they're allowing me to have a combination of expressing my anguish about issues which have not been addressed, and yet use the format of entertainment so that we reach out to a wider audience and not isolate an audience that we tend to do when we are addressing social issues. I did go with the Third Eye and with HHNS to Bihar in July last year, and it was an eye-opener for me, because we have this tendency of living in cities in a very ivory tower kind of condition, and we look at what is called poverty without truly understanding its shape, its psyche. And when I went there, I was amazed to see the quality of life that has taken place, that has changed for the better. We went to a certain section of a few villages near Bodh Gaya in Bihar, and the women especially, who have actually come out, as they say, come out of the household, the threshold of their houses and homes, with permission from their male counterparts. They are very, very active, not only in the fields, they're active in their homes, they're active about educating themselves as well as their children. It's a movement that has gathered quite strongly, and I was a little ashamed to think that everything in India is stagnant and everything in India is backward, which is not. And if I could make that effort to go out into the village, I thought, why not carry those stories through cinema and see that those stories are released commercially all over India and the world, and let all of us know that we should be proud that despite all the impediments that our rural folk go through, there is far more hope, both in terms of personality development and spiritual upliftment. We have called the film Safed Doli, which is interesting because it's a metaphor. A lal doli, as you know, a red doli connotes a bride and a wedding, and the Safed Doli is what represents the widow. And one has tried to show, I made Rudali years ago, where I spoke about the plight of widows. But Safed Doli gives the widow strength to overcome all her societal pressures and rise above it like a sphinx. But one thing wonderful is here that HHNS has invested in the seed money of developing the entire screenplay, story, research, and that really makes a difference. Because this quality of having 3 generations working on it has truly made my work extremely alive and interesting.
You know, I think the most important problem that we need to lock horns with is we in Bollywood are very clear that we are providing painkillers, emotional and spiritual pet and dreams. We are trained to sedate people. It's very clear. I mean, this is what our predecessors have told us, that you are a part of the feel-good industry. You're a hope peddler, and not different from the religious man who tells you the story of God is in heaven and all is well with the world. Like the politician who tells you that, hold my hand, I shall lead you to paradise. So, in a business which has businessmen who are committed to, when they make an investment, they do it to multiply their assets. For a filmmaker, for a writer, to make an engaging story, wherein he can also, as Stuart said very intelligently, you're supposed to, now he comes from America, where you can jolt the comforted. I mean, pain is an aphrodisiac in the affluent world. But in Nigeria or in India, people want to escape from those heart-wrenching truths that they are, bombarded with on the hour by the hour. So for us to craft narratives which do a tightrope walking between, giving them a no-nonsense, peddling the truth and say that, look, this is what it is, demystify, and also make a movie that works at the box office, is not an easy thing.
It's very tough.
And so I feel that, and if you want this to be an enduring process, you cannot wish away that we are essentially a part of the feel-good industry, and we have got bankers and people who are committed to making money, and we are in the sedation business. We are pleasure peddlers. And so it's very difficult for us to make movies. For example, I've just made a film called City Lights, which deals with the migration from rural India to the urban centers, and how individuals struggle to cope with this dazzle of the city light. Now, it's a brilliant film that my filmmaker has made, but it has heart-wrenching truth in it. So there is a knee-jerk response of the so-called distributor that this kind of excruciating pain which you have packaged, is the audience on a weekend going to make a purchase and indulge in this act of masochism, and maybe in certain centers you would, maybe in the festival circuit you would, but will the mainstream Indian consumer consume this kind of films? So I think Nigeria on right hand and Hollywood on the left hand, I mean, there are two different parts of the world where two different kind of content work, and I think we have been struggling to do that, and that's going to be a tough call for us in times to come.
It's tough for us too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that generally audiences in Nigeria will take whatever you throw at them. But certainly with the right balance of entertainment, I think, for instance, we did a teaser, very short, 1 minute of the film, and I showed people who came to the studio to look at it. Some of the women broke down and they're crying. And I said, this is going to be a disaster. Why is everybody crying? Except my lawyer. Okay with the girl, and the girl is crying. And very strange, throughout the screening of this 1 minute piece, my lawyer is laughing. He's the only one to me that had this heart of stone. You know, he's just laughing throughout. He said, everybody's seen this, has been crying, but I'm laughing. You know. But you know, sometimes there are rewards. I wish, you know, I had no money. I wish I was wealthy like some of the filmmakers. But what is rewarding for me in the previous film that I made is Aruba, where this girl, you know, who is educated, comes to see a friend who has a sick child. And he said this child has refused to eat, she's dehydrated, and they just say, no, what you should do is take her to hospital, and she said she had no money to go to hospital. Then in that case, the first thing you do is to do your dehydration therapy, which you take a solution of sugar and salt, put it in plain boiled water, and give it to the child. You know, it was just that short scene. But see, after the film's been released 2 years, and I heard a story of one woman whose child was really sick in real life, and remembered in the film. And then that's what she did. You know, at night, and then go the child to hospital and explain that I did this. And they asked her in the hospital, why did you know to do that? And I said, I saw it in the film. You know, so it shows, you know, that with the right balance, the Nigerian audience are actually used to films that have social content. Because it's been in the culture anyway, in the traditional theater, you know, these are theater that address social political issues and usually go back by the government itself. So I think we can exploit this, you know, and get the filmmakers get into their heads, not to give up the entertainment, but to think about, you know, using, and I think the time is just right when we have a fusion of all the media, especially that we have 90 million Nigerians on our mobile phones. We have to maybe modify the way we used to work and the creation of the content to suit, you know, this new wave of millions of potential audience.
I'll take this moment to actually introduce my team here, because without all of them, I don't think the Third Eye can really, we feel so proud in this moment that we are amongst such an eclectic group of eminent people. Deepa Bhalerao here, she's the program outreach manager. And she helps us, of course, bring experts on board who consult on storylines. She connects writers to experts, as well as works with the in-house team of writers and helps them enrich their storylines. So I'm sure they will, of course, talk more about what work they do later with you. That's Shiv Bhalla. He's our in-house wordsmith, and really has kind of given identity to the Third Eye with his words. That's Prateek Punjabi at a really young age. Besides being a tremendous writer himself, he's also director content strategy with us, and he really has mastered the art of the marriage and blend between development and entertainment. I sometimes have to like feel the surprise when he comes up with the idea and it turns into magic. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have all of you over here today. I'm sitting next to my colleague from Hollywood Health and Society, Chris Dizialo. Chris manages the global centers in Nigeria and India, the Third Eye and GIST. The Third Eye is the Indian chapter of the global centers, and GIST is operating out of Nigeria. The primary purpose of these centers is to follow the model of Hollywood Health and Society, which has been existing in the industry of Hollywood, entertainment and television for the last 13 years. They have supported over 500 storylines, including Homeland, Private Practice, Desperate Housewives, as well as 90210, with expert advice and accurate information on key health, sustainable development and climate change issues. And guided by their model, we are establishing absolutely the similar center in Mumbai. Chris is here to help us put it all together for our second step. The first step we complete today because we are celebrating the first year anniversary of our centers.
It's been around for 13 years and we work with all the top television shows in America. And we were looking for a partner in India to kind of expand this approach because the approach worked so well in Hollywood, we thought, why not Bollywood? And so Vinta and her team were perfect for this sort of expansion of what we do. And of course, we're also doing the same in Nollywood in Nigeria. And it's really easy. We're a free service. Any filmmaker can call us with any sort of question. So as Batsab was mentioning, he was doing a film on schizophrenia. He could have called us if we existed back then and asked us all of his questions and made that script much more realistic. And it's a win-win because the filmmakers get that gritty information. You know, think of the grittiness of Homeland or Mad Men, 90210, Grey's Anatomy, and that's all us. We give that compelling information that makes the stories feel real, and so we're really excited to do that in consultation with, in collaboration with Vinta's shop here and with Amy and Bond's shop in Nigeria. So, and I'm just so excited to be in India again, which is the best place in the world. So, very happy to be here.
It's a great honor to represent Nollywood, which is diverse, and has, sort of the voice of the people. And again, it's honor to be admitted in the global, community and to be recognized as an important component when we talk about the major film industries in the world. Suddenly to find myself sitting on behalf of Nigerian filmmakers between Hollywood and Bollywood, two elder industries and who have demonstrated the power, of communication. And of course, recognize that film is about the people, and that's the most important aspect, to bring not only entertainment to our people, but to give them information and to create a dialogue between the people and the filmmakers, and use this dialogue and this synergy, this relationship, to be agent of development to our people. And I'm sure, that we are in for exciting times. We are living in the knowledge era, we are living in an era of social media, and we are excited about the possibilities of that connection between the filmmakers and the people.